Good evening. Welcome to this meeting of the Metropolitan School District of Martinsville School Board. On behalf of the school board, we thank you for being here in person or virtually. I'm Matt Hankins, President of the school board. To my left is Secretary Luke Jackson. To his left is Dan Conway, board member, and to his left is Jackie Deckard, board member. To my right is Assistant to the Superintendent, Mrs.
Superintendent Eric Bolin is unable to attend tonight due to a medical procedure he had earlier this week. Thank you, Mr. Hankins.
If everyone would please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on our agenda, do we have anybody for public comments regarding agenda items? No? Then I will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda, everyone has seen. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Matt, can we discuss that real quick?
Yes?
One thing on the consent agenda, when we look at the certified personnel replacing contracted services, do we know the savings, or is there something as far as what that's going to cost us with the psychologist and the occupational therapist from the
Yeah,
contract?
we are tracking all of that data and trying to be very conservative, yes, as we move forward.
Do we know the savings of it? Or, I haven't seen nothing, I'm just asking. I haven't seen-
Yes, we do know those savings. I don't know them off the top of my head here for this evening, but we do know the savings. And it is lucrative for us because they are even though they will receive benefits, the salaries are less than they would if we have to contract with a company.
And Courtney's getting us the exact numbers of that, Dan, so. Maybe not this meeting, she'll get that.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we split that off of the consent agenda and vote on it separately, just for those couple, until we get that.
Okay. Let's see, and so that would be number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Do I have a motion for the consent agenda omitting number 5?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Do I have a second?
Is there a time frame on this where we could pause it till next month?
Well, the sooner we can obtain staff, the better, because then they might leave us and go to another district. So yes, it would be advantageous for the district. This is something that the special needs positions that Mr. Dilly has been working with Mr. Bolin on throughout the year so that we can secure these spots and move forward here to start the year in August with everyone in place.
But you were saying with these individuals, instead of contracting it, there is a savings, even including their benefits and their salary and all of that, there is a savings.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion? Courtney? Okay. Do I have a second?
So just so I'm clear what we're voting on, are we voting on to split out the personnel report, or are we voting on the consent agenda with that omitted for this time?
For that omitted for this time is what?
Not the entire personnel agenda, it's just the individuals that were brought up,
Those
correct?
two individuals, yes.
The two individuals for special needs employment.
So on the personnel, we'll take all 1 through 6 except omitting those 2 people, correct?
That's if there's a second.
I'll second Dan's motion so it can come up.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda except for the 2 individuals on the personnel report, correct?
That's correct.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, next.
Okay, now you have to vote on the consent agenda,
Yeah, the whole.
the whole
Okay,
consent agenda.
Okay. So do we have a motion on the whole consent agenda? Oh, wait a minute.
Did Dan's motion pass? Yeah, I did.
So, let's be clear on this. The first, so Dan made a motion.
To remove the 2.
Two with the
2
2
names.
individuals,
Mhm.
You
and we,
seconded.
and we
And you approve
approve
that,
that.
but now you have to vote
Approve
on the consent
consent agenda.
agenda,
Yes,
minus those
we
2
ju-
names.
We just separated.
Minus
Oh,
those.
Minus those 2
two.
names.
Okay, sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Okay, that's I'm
Yeah.
trying to make sure we got it.
You can't hear me?
It's on, I think.
And I think we're voting on these in 2 separate votes now, correct?
No,
Or we-
his motion was to vote on the consent agenda minus those 2 individuals.
Okay,
And so now you'll vote on the consent agenda minus
Minus.
those 2 names,
Names.
okay.
correct?
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's why I just want to be clear and so everyone understood what
Yeah.
we're actually voting on.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to vote on the consent agenda, omitting the 2 individuals, correct? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now, next, are we ready to move on to the,
Student field trips and professional travel. The first item under that category is the MSD Chamber Orchestra trip, postponed till 2026. In May, the school board approved the trip for 2025. The chamber orchestra director has postponed that trip. It's an educational experience to Florida from 2025 to 2026, and the district is asking for the board's approval.
okay, do I have a motion for the MSD Chamber Orchestra trip postponement to 2026?
I'll make a motion on that, Matt, to postpone the MSD Chamber Orchestra trip.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the MSD Chamber Orchestra trip postponement to 2026. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The second item, National Association for Gifted Children. Ryan Cox is our district representative. He's our high ability coordinator for the district. He requests travel to Seattle from November 21st through the 24th. No district funds will be used. It will be high ability funds from the state of Indiana. We ask as a district for your approval for Ryan Cox to attend this National Association meeting.
I make a motion, we approve Ryan Cox to attend the National Association for Gifted Children.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for the National Association for Gifted Children for Ryan Cox to attend. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next item, Paxton Patterson Career Exploration Lab. Kendra Fraley, the teacher from John R. Wooden Middle School, who's coordinating that career lab. wishes to attend a training session in Hickory, North Carolina, July 23rd through the 25th. The district asks for your approval for that trip for Kinja Fraley.
Okay, do I have a motion for the Paxton Patterson Career Exploration Lab for Kenja Fraley to attend?
I'll make a motion, Matt, to approve the Paxton Patterson Career Exploration Lab for Kinja.
I'll second it.
Been a motion and a second to approve the Paxton Patterson Career Exploration Lab for Kenja Fraley to attend. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Last on this list, National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth Conference. Patty Osler, our district social worker, wishes to attend this particular conference in Orlando, Florida, November 16th through the 19th. Patty Osler to attend the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth Conference. The district wishes for your approval.
Do I have a motion for Patty Osler to attend the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth Conference in Orlando, Florida from November 16th through the 19th?
I'll make a motion, Matt, to approve the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth Conference for Patty Osler.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second for Patty Osler to attend the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth Conference in Orlando, Florida. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Next is our report section. We're going to start with curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And this evening, tonight with me, to highlight one of our MSD of Martinsville's newly established programs. It's called the SAVE program. SAVE stands for Student Anti-Vaping Education. This is a program that we created this year in our district. It is our own Martinsville student support program aimed at vaping detection and intervention. The district has purchased vape detectors and installed those in all restrooms at John R. Wooden Middle School and Martinsville High School. So that was a big piece of this programming. The goals of the program are to eliminate the use of vapes and substance abuse amongst minors, to increase family awareness and engagement of their child's substance abuse, and to facilitate this program, the MSD of Martinsville is partnering with Morgan County Prosecutor's Office, Morgan County Probation Department, and Martinsville City Court. Tonight, I'm happy to introduce the two district staff members who have been instrumental in organizing and moving this program forward. John R. Wooden Middle School's health educator, Nanette Sheldon, who is certified as a community health worker with endorsement in substance abuse and substance use disorder, is here tonight, along with our own district of schools police chief, Chris Wright. Both Chris and Nanette are here with us this evening. You guys can take the podium.
Thank you. I've tried to get as much of this done as quickly as we can because I don't want to hold you guys up. But we'll start with the picture. They always say the pictures are worth 1,000 words. And what you're looking at right there is a kind of a 2-month snapshot. And if you look at that and you compare the numbers, you're going to see more vapes on the table than what's actually in the numbers. But there's a part of that that is because some kids had more than one vape on them. Some kids got caught with a vape outside of, but it made it into the collection of vapes that we asked them to keep track of. But that is basically right about a 2-month snapshot. So to say that there's not a problem with vaping in our school system would kind of be a misnomer at best. There is an issue. And the good news is we're kind of going at it full tilt as hard as we can. In culmination with the Verkada systems, we get an alert, the administrators get an alert that there's vaping going on in the bathroom. or wherever it might be going on. But somebody will go, somebody will respond. If they can't respond, then they're going to get on the video cameras and they're going to say, okay, there's a group of kids that are in that bathroom. Somebody's vaping. So through the trial and error and questioning process, we kind of figure out who that is. Sometimes the kids are like, yeah, I'm caught. Here's the vape. So and they give it up. So that part of it's working really well. And I'll dive into the future of what that might look like here in a little bit. What's important to note is obviously there is a vaping issue, and this isn't a Martinsville problem. This isn't a central Indiana problem. This is a nationwide problem. This vaping is out of control is probably the best way to sum that up. I've heard parents tell us things like, well, it's a safe alternative to cigarettes. Well, not according to, if you go by the science of it, it's not. So I always try to deter that. I wish the kids would smoke versus how bad the vaping is for them. But that's neither here nor there. It's just something I want to touch on real quick. The current, and Mrs. Lips touched on it, but I wanted to touch on it one more time because the current program as it is designed right now has been an absolute culmination of effort and countless hours of meetings upon meetings and research and all that kind of fun stuff that it took to get this thing off the ground. And we started with a program and it's kind of morphed into what it is today, which is, I'm going to say it's very effective at this point. Next year, I think we're going to have some really good numbers to look at. And I'm hopeful for what that does look like. Statistic-wise, I'm hoping to see a big drop. I'm hoping to see not so many reoccurring type of students coming back. And I think we're always going to have a portion of the parents who are going to be like, well, we'll just go ahead and pay the ticket. I'll let my kid vape. I don't know how we're ever going to get around that. Maybe at some point we'll put our minds together and educate parents. And that is the ultimate design of the program, is to get the parents involved. And if we get them involved financially, that gets their attention because they're not going to be real happy about little Johnny paying a $150 ticket every couple of weeks. So that's going to get expensive really quickly. But one thing I want to touch on too and say is that none of this was her, none of this was me, none of it was just anybody in particular. It has been an absolute culmination from like Ms. Lips talked about, the prosecutor's office, state excise police, us, her putting together the program, the officers in the building, the administrators. I mean, it just was everybody putting this together. And I'll let her take over at this point and talk about the actual program and what she does and how that part looks. And she's going to be better versed to tell you that than I am even.
Thank you. I will be sharing the curriculum use, which we created and implemented to align with academic health standards 1 through 8 and appropriate life skills, grades 5 through 12, of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. Classes are combined with John R. Wooden Middle and Martinsville High School students. These classes are held at the high school, and this has been an effective way to reach our students, as our high schoolers have attributed wonderful insight for our middle schoolers as peer support to stop and not use substances. Upon completion of the program, all students receive a certificate, and I've seen this to be a great accomplishment for these students, very rewarding. Now on to our data. If you can take a look at our screen, from January to May of 2024, we had 62 students who received vaping tickets, 45 of those students who attended the program, and 41 of those students who successfully completed the program. I feel this is an effective program for the students, and I'm excited to see the progress in the future.
We do want to point out that we just started this in January. It took until January to get all the mechanisms in the restrooms and, like Officer Wright said, to get everyone versed as to what his or her role is going to be, because there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and she hits the nail right on the head. There's a lot of moving parts, and just something so simple like, are they going to pay the ticket or are they not, turns into, well, what if they partially pay the ticket, and what if they don't complete the class? So there's all those aspects that have to be taken into consideration. I talked about the future earlier, but it is my intent that we develop a better response than what we've had. Like this was a learning year. This was getting it off the ground. This was growing. This is figuring out all the pains and all the issues that come along with it. I think by the time, when I know for a fact, when we come back to school, we are ready to hit this thing full tilt. My officer in the building doesn't know it yet, but he's going to get a whole lot more active and involved in how he responds to these vaping alerts, and try to narrow that down. And it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day routine. They're busy over there. Everybody's got a job to do. Everybody's got several jobs to do, if I'm being completely honest. But everybody's busy, and it's easy to get numb, probably, to, oh no, another Verkada alert. But we're gonna take them as seriously as we possibly can, and because I really want good data coming out of this. And the biggest reason why is because, and I'll finish with this part. Imitation's the best form of flattery. So when I go to the Safe School Commissions, which is with Monrovia, Mooresville, Martin, and all the sheriffs, all the chiefs of police, administrators, superintendents, everybody wants to know what we're doing because the word's out and the kids are talking about it. And if they're talking about it, that means it's having some effect. They're also, yeah, I don't want to sit through that class again, so I don't know what Nanette's doing. I don't know if she's beating them with a stick or what, but they don't want to come back to that class. They want to attend that class and be done. And those return rate numbers will be very interesting next year. But I'm excited about where we're at today. And like I said, I wish I could take all the credit, but it's not just me. It's absolutely everybody has taken a part in it. So I'm looking forward to it next year. Hopefully, it'd be great if we never had a kid attend that, but I'm being realistic, and I know that we will. Does anybody have any questions for me? I know we're trying to cram a lot of stuff in there, but is there questions about or Nanette or myself, either or?
How's the parent feedback been?
I did actually receive from a couple different parents who actually had come through the school corporation, many, many thank yous on making sure the importance of the education of this, knowing more, or even them going home and sharing, hey, mom, did you know that using vapes can do this? And that feedback felt really good that, hey, they're paying attention, they're listening, and they're hearing all of these negative effects that they didn't know about or just weren't aware, or even in that class together where we're sharing and communicating and practicing these skills and incorporating them into your daily life, where I feel like this has been awesome to hear and see them work this out also together. So, and that's where even that certificate of completion, I've just seen that to be very rewarding for them, to where it's like, okay, yeah, we're getting it. I completed this. It is important.
How long is your class?
The class, there are 4 classes, so they are on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And they go for about 2 hours in the evening. So they come, and it's after school. John R. Wooden heads over to high school, and then we all meet in a room, and that's the class is on a roll.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we testing the vapes for other stuff? I know there's tests for other things out there, so is there, I mean, I'm sure that data is somewhat concerning as you get deeper in the weeds on that.
It is, and that is a whole side issue all by itself, because we posed the question to the prosecutor, what are we doing with the THC vapes? And in order to make a THC vape charge stick, you have to literally send it off to, so if they go in there and say, well, I'm not guilty, then the prosecutor has to take that vape, send it off to the state lab, and they have to test it for its contents, and then it has to come back. Right now, if you were to submit something today and you get it back within 2 years, I would be impressed. That's how backlogged they are with sampling and testing and all that kind of stuff. So the decision was made. I think Mrs. Lips was present. We were all there for that conversation about, let's approach the THC vapes just like we would any other vape. It's not ideal. It's not my preferred method. I think they should remain separate, but it's the same amount of ticket either way. So we're driving that point home. You're going to pay $150 whether you have a THC vape or whether you have a regular vape. So they're lumping it all in. We're putting them all in the same class. I wish there was one step more maybe, and that might be something in the future where it changes for, okay, THC vapes are over here, regular vapes are over here for the students, because that in and of itself, if they understood nothing, the biggest takeaway they need to get from THC vaping is that it is so concentrated, and it is possible to OD from a vape, a THC vape. People are like, it's just THC. Yeah, you're right, it's just THC, but that student, that person will remain stoned for at least 3 days in the wrong concentration. So you can OD on some of these new vapes that are going around. And that's part of the conversations I've had with state excise police about, I religiously call them, hey, let's hit this place. Paragon just sold some beer and vapes to this kid. So, you know, I'm working every angle that I can with state excise, and they're going in there. That gets into the money aspect of it. It gets into the whole thing about, you know, should we arrest the shop owners? Should state excise arrest the shop owners? They don't want to do that because they contribute to people's campaigns. But what they will do is they will hand that cashier a ticket, and it is a mandatory must appear in court ticket. Why are you selling vapes to minors? So that's where we're making our dent in these stores. So we're hitting it from all angles.
So I have a question. How are we testing for THC if it's taking that long for the results to come back if we send it off? How are we testing for that?
We're not.
How do we know then that there's THC, I guess would be the bigger question. How do we know?
Some of them are stamped on the side, and they have adjustments on the side even where you can control the potency
Okay.
of it. Some say that. The ones that are in question, you can simply get online. You can hand me a vape, and I can tell you getting online whether it's THC or whether it's not. And so we have to do some research
Okay,
and see what we are dealing with.
okay. Thank you.
I do feel that is part of keeping these students educated with additional knowledge. So there are many questions that come up in class where I do go over many different dangers of those vapes and what else could be in them. And with that comes a lot of different questions, which allows for a lot of teachable moments. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
And do you have guest speakers come in and little vignettes that you watch, clips, that kind of thing, some real
Yes.
life stuff for them?
Real world connections, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sheldon. Thank you, Mr. Wright. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Also, this is one program that the MSD of Martinsville has as an opportunity for students to grow and to improve. Martinsville schools offer something for everyone curricularly. We also have some other highlights that we want to bring up since it is the enrollment season. Martinsville Schools has a free and reduced rate pre-K programming. Also, alternative education programming, customized scheduling, virtual instruction, 7 elementary schools to choose from, cutting-edge technology for classes and students, Project Lead the Way, performing fine arts, in-house special education services, dual college credit and AP courses, invested staff members at all levels, and Martinsville is the home of 64 academic and athletic state championships. Free tuition and reduced rate scholarships are available to all of our 7 elementary schools for pre-K programming. Every family will be able to apply for a free tuition scholarship. Parents can call Central Education Center for enrollment right now, anytime, not just for pre-K, but for any grade level. Also on the agenda later this evening is a Well Wednesday proposal. And I want to give a little bit of information about that in the curriculum section here. Our proposal to the school board on the agenda is about the flexibility waiver that our state, the state of Indiana, the IDOE has already approved for us. Now we're seeking the approval of our school board. The MSD of Martinsville seeks approval to begin the Well Wednesday, that's weekly engagement in leading and learning Wednesday plan as per the Indiana State Board of Education approval in May of this year. The MSD of Martinsville is proposing an alternate schedule 1 day per week for 24-25 school year in order to provide teachers with time for collaboration with professional learning communities with training and professional development. The district is committed to a plan to support all students achieving a learning-centered, future-focused education. The plan for this coming school year includes a 1-hour late arrival on Wednesday instead of a 2-hour late arrival on Wednesday, as we have done in the last 2 years. The transition from a 2-hour delay to a 1-hour delay was made based on these reasonings. Using the 2-hour Well Wednesday schedule in 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024, the MSD of Martinsville has created a best practice learning culture by implementing professional learning communities in every school and following a routine of collaboration and professional development. Using the 2-hour Well Wednesday schedule, the MSD of Martinsville has successfully utilizes the resources provided by the Indiana Department of Education to collaborate around the vertical alignment of academic standards, which the district's curriculum is built on. Moving to the 1-hour Well Wednesday schedule, the district will capitalize on both instructional classroom minutes in the classroom and also prioritize professional learning communities, because the MSD of Martinsville has demonstrated how the PLC work has impacted students. Due to the 2-hour Well Wednesday schedule for the past 2 years, the MSD has retained quality staff members so that the district has significantly fewer new staff members. In 2024, we have less than 10 new teachers to start in August. In 2023, we had 30 new teachers, and in 2022, 39. We attribute that continuity to the Well Wednesday, to the flexibility waiver. Teachers feel valued. They feel they have time for collaboration and planning. There's continuity and there's success in the classroom. So for the past 2 years, the district prioritized our local school community needs and utilize the 2-hour Well Wednesday planned efficiently to the advantage of students. However, moving forward, the 1-hour Well Wednesday plan will still allow the fundamental core of the plan to grow teachers and student success, as other districts throughout the state have testified. So that will come up later in our agenda. I just wanted to give that information for the public that are here and virtually. And last, for the curriculum report, staff shout out, special summer thank you to the food service staff, the technology team, the maintenance staff, the transportation department, coaches, teachers, and office staff for continuing to provide services for students, recruitment teams, athletes, and our community. Also, thank you to teachers and staff for participating in training and planning sessions in preparation for the 24-25 school year. Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening. And remember, if you are having a student that you know in the community that needs a place to go to school next year, Martinsville School District is a great choice. Next on the agenda is our first read with no vote for policies that are listed under numbers 2 through 29. First read means we are just viewing these policies. This language can be changed. Words within the policy can be changed. We can make adjustments as per our district's needs and customize accordingly. Any questions or recommendations that need to be sent to us prior to the next board meeting, you can do so via phone call, email, or stop in. So at this time, there's no vote needed. Board members, I just wanted you to see policies that are listed under numbers 2 through 29.
Okay.
Any questions or concerns about any of those policies, or anything that you want me to research and get answers for before the next meeting?
Yeah, I think this one's going to be just for the community to look at. There's a lot of them in here that we need to scrub and make sure, because there's a lot of different pieces on here. So I would just ask the public to look at them as we look at them, because there's a lot of different information in this bundle, pretty thick bundle too. So just make sure if you have questions on it, I dove into it last night a little bit more, and I've highlighted some stuff that I'm gonna work on myself. I'm sure the others have as well.
Mrs. Lips, I did receive a couple questions, so it might be, we can research it. The communication devices. I know in our policy, it included bus transportation as well, where the state law was kind of vague, giving the local schools a good, discretion on that. So maybe just the reasoning behind that, so the public will know, for
And
that.
we have probably heard the same things that you all have heard. And we have talked to our transportation director, Dennis Mills, and he recommends that we change the wording that says prohibited to encourage not to use, but can use if needed, or that's just what's best for that student on the bus. So as you all have already addressed, we will be looking over these individually. Just as a reminder to anyone who maybe doesn't know, these policies are not created by any of us up here. Neola is the company that works with probably over 90% of all school districts in the state of Indiana. And Neola has attorneys on staff, attorneys from Lewis and Kappas, that draft the policies that correspond with state legislation. So as state legislation comes out, these attorneys draft the policies, they push them out through Neola. The Neola representative for our district is Dr. Halleck. He comes, he meets with us, we look over the wording. We have some choices, some wording that can be changed. And as you've indicated, we will go over those possibilities before next month. Any other points? Okay. Next is old business. And a couple of things that I want to mention under old business is that parents will not see any increase in lunch charges this year. Parents will not see an increase in lunch charges. We also will continue with free breakfast for all students. And one other thing that concerns lots of staff members, non-certified staff raises and certified staff raises, if that is to be in the future, will happen in sync at the same time later this fall. We look at all with the union, with the teachers union, they go through formal negotiations with the district. And during that formal negotiation time, we also consider non-certified raises at the same time. So everything's done in sync. That's the old business we have. And I know President Hankins, you have something else?
Yes, we need to go back to the consent agenda, and I think we have to vote on everything on the consent agenda except the omission of the two individuals.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda except for the omission of the two individuals?
Yes.
So
You voted twice, but you voted on the same motion. And the
Wanted to make
motion that
sure.
you voted on was Mr. Conway's motion to pull out those two names. So you voted, you mentioned it, he seconded it, you voted, and then again, President Hankins reiterated that same motion after we had quite a bit of a discussion. He reiterated it just to make it clear for everyone, and we voted on the same thing. So in looking at the notes and going back, we need to vote on the consent agenda as Mr. Hankins has just indicated.
Okay, so do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda minus the two individuals? So we have
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda minus the two individuals.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda minus the two individuals. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I would also like to add something to that, that I was thinking about here as we're discussing this. We do always have the opportunity to ask the questions before the meetings, just so the public understands. We do get our board packet early, and we do have an opportunity to ask those questions before the meeting. But I understand also the situation, and even though I voted to split them out. It's not because of the individuals, it's because, I understand we don't always get, the exact dollar amount, but I understand you tell me that we're saving money and I trust that implicitly. But I also understand how hard it is to get these individuals into your schools and not pay those contracted, services as well. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
All right.
Next, under action, we have a second read for vote. That's numbers 1 through 15. Policies listed under numbers 1 through 15. This is a second read. It is for a vote. President Hankins.
Do I have a motion for the policies from 1 through 15 to accept those?
I make a motion that we accept and approve policies 1 through 15.
I'll second it.
Okay. Are there any questions? None appearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
Next, under action items, number 16, the July school board meeting date needs to be rescheduled to July 25th, 2024. The district is requesting this proposal to be accepted.
Do I have a motion to accept the July school board meeting date to reschedule to July 25th?
I'll make a motion,
2020?
Matt, to reschedule that
Okay,
July board meeting.
I have a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to move the July school board meeting date rescheduled to July 25th, 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Next action item, the district requests the flexibility waiver for Well Wednesdays proposal for 24-25 be accepted as described earlier.
Do we have a motion to accept the flexibility waiver for Well Wednesday?
Can we discuss that a little bit? Just a couple questions on that.
Yes.
Okay. A couple questions I have as I look through this. The cost for the daycare before the school, where does that come from? I didn't see it in any.
It is free. The daycare,
Who pays that though? Is that something that, I mean, I don't know what's
it's
free.
with our partnership with the YMCA.
Okay, so they don't bill us for it, we don't pay it, that type of deal? I didn't seen it in any of the.
We, for Well Wednesdays, we haven't had any more students that have utilized daycare than use it every other day. If we did have a need, we would use our instructional aides to come in early to do the supervision. So right now, the daycare is what is already being facilitated every single day of the week. And if there would be a school that would need additional service, additional manpower, then instead of our aides coming in an hour later, we would have them come in at the same time as they would normally come in, and they would supervise the students for free.
Okay. You just don't see many free things, so. That's
Free
what I'm asking.
breakfast,
Well,
hey,
yeah,
free
we know
bre-
it's not free, but that was the question I have. The other conversation I have, and looking at this from the data and looking at it for the kids, looking at the bus drivers, meals, staff, I think this is a better move, and I think we just need to stay close to it as we continue to look at it. From 2 hours to 1 hour, I think is a better decision than where we were before. And the data makes sense, and it's really about the kids when we're trying to do the right thing for them. And I think talking to some of the staff, even since this came out, and not a lot of people know this yet, so I think how many people pay attention to the release 2 days ago is probably not as much, but I think it's a move in the right direction. I think feedback's important as we move forward with this and get more feedback as we approve this or decline it today, but I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I agree, and I have a question, Mrs. Lips, for, because it's an hour, and most schools generally do the hour anyway, so I was really honestly surprised that the DOE granted the waiver over the past years. But I know it's also going to be hard to collaborate certain grade levels because of the outlying school, so will they still be able to, Zoom or do something
The
like that?
vertical
and still-
alignment will be more difficult because many of those groups met here, and to travel to Greene or to travel to Brooklyn, Paragon, it would be more difficult, but the meetings would be shorter if we need to meet face-to-face, and there is always Zoom.
Sure.
So, we can utilize that effectively and have a little bit more time, but if you need to meet face-to-face to do something in person, we could do that. And we can even use guest speakers in either facet.
Okay, great, thank you.
I know I've had a lot of positive feedback from teachers to how much they approve of Well Wednesday.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity the administration gave us to visit some of them and to see a lot of the work that goes on in it. So there was a lot of good productive things going on, which was encouraging to see.
Thank you all. Thank you.
It is, and as Dan mentioned, not too many things are free, but it was important that last year we challenged Superintendent Boland and Mrs. Lips to work it out, because that is, it's a drain, it's a strain for parents, working parents, that additional cost. So I appreciate you guys working that out, and hopefully we can continue that this following year.
Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion then for the flexibility waiver Well Wednesday proposal for 2024, 2025?
I make a motion, we approve the flexibility waiver Well Wednesday proposal 2425.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the flexibility waiver Well Wednesday proposal for 2024, 2025 school year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item, item number 18, is the science curriculum adoption for sixth grade. Science is a tested subject in the sixth grade. The Twig Science book was selected by community staff, and it is proposed only for the sixth grade for 1 year. The district's Project Lead the Way modules fulfill most of our sixth grade standards, but this proposed Twig text will also meet the remaining requirements for grade 6, where the subject is tested on iLearn. Some staff member comments, things that they thought that were really good at Bell Intermediate Academy about the Twig were the hands-on labs, and they corresponded to with the STEM, the Project Lead the Way, the digital interactives, the video investigations, and the scientific test investigations that included real-world virtual field trips. So the district would, at this time, request the board to approve the Twig science curriculum adoption for sixth grade for 1 year.
Mrs. Lips, and I noticed, and you mentioned it too, that some of the stakeholders were parents and community members. Was the feedback great from them as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the science curriculum adoption for the sixth grade?
I'll make a motion, Matt, to approve the science curriculum adoption for the sixth grade.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the science curriculum adoption for the sixth grade. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item under action, item number 19, Artesian Childcare Contract. We have had a contract with Artesian Childcare since 2018. This is a renewal of the initial contract. However, it is a 2-year renewal, and we now have implemented a usage fee. I know that the school board has seen the various stages as this contract has developed over the last few months, and hopefully you're pleased with the content, the language, and the agreement that we are proposing this evening be approved.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the Artesian childcare contract for 2 years from school year 2024 through 2026?
I'll make a motion to approve the Artesian childcare contract.
I'll second that, Matt.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Artesian childcare contract for the 2024 through 2026 school year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I also should have mentioned, one of the concerns a couple of years ago was that Artesian Childcare was here in this facility, but very few staff members, students, children were in that childcare. This year, that has flipped. The last 2 years, that's flipped, and the school district has over 33 students, teachers, staff members, even a student's child are in the artesian daycare. So this is an advantageous location, centrally located, and many people take advantage of that. So thank you for that approval. Next is the agenda item, Franciscan Athletic Training Contract for 2024 through 2027 for our district. The district request approval of that contract.
Okay, do I have a motion for the Franciscan Athletic Training Contract for the school year 2024 through 2027?
I'll make a motion, Matt, to approve the Franciscan athletic training contract.
I'll second.
Are there any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the Franciscan Athletic Training Contract for 2024 through 2027, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
And the next item, item 21, under action, is our district's food service handbook for 24-25. Mr. Kurt Bodell, the food service director, has prepared this handbook, and it looks to be in good form, and we would like permission from the board to have that approved.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the food service handbook for the school year 2024, 2025?
I'll make the motion to approve the food service handbook 2024-25.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the food service handbook for 2024, 2025. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
School board items 22 through 25 are all donations. Typically, Superintendent Bolin asks you if it's okay if we lump those, but he always likes to read the individuals so that we can give accolades, credit to the many groups in our community that donate. Would this be allowable for this meeting also?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have a donation from Operation Roundup Grant and the Duke Energy. They are donating $1,500 each to fund the program Real Men Read. Another donation is from Elite Dance and Acrobatics to the Martinsville High School Chamber Orchestra in the amount of $1,250. A third donation from L. Dwayne and Helen Tackett O'Neill Foundation to the MSD Martinsville fourth grade students in the amount of $2,708. And our last donation for this evening is a donation from the Martinsville Education Foundation to Green Township Elementary and Centerton Elementary for our Lexia academic reading program in the amount of $11,660. We recommend approval of all of these very generous donations.
Do I have a motion to approve all the donations that have been listed this evening?
I'll make a motion, Matt, to approve all the donations as placed before us.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the donations that have been given to us this evening. All those in favor of approving these signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next on the agenda, we have the public comments and announcements. Courtney, do we have anyone that would like to speak? Okay. Let me read. At the completion of a regular school board business meeting, a visitor that wishes to speak may do so at the discretion of the president. The visitor will be required to state his or her full name and be given the opportunity to speak, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. In an effort to fairly adhere to the 3-minute guideline for all speakers, we will present a timer on the interactive panels. Board members will listen to the speakers but will not engage in back and forth conversations. Board feedback or answers to questions will be provided before the next board meeting or at the beginning of the next board meeting. At the conclusion of 3 minutes, speakers will be asked to return to their seats. It shall not be permissible to orally present or discuss complaints against individual employees of the MSD of Martinsville at any Board of Trustees meeting. Such charges or complaints shall be presented to the Board of Trustees in writing and shall be signed by the person making the charge or complaint. Boisterous conduct shall not be permitted at any meeting of the Board of Trustees, nor will any defamatory or abusive remarks be tolerated. We appreciate everyone's civility in maintaining a business order. That has been the practice at school board meetings. Courtney? Mr. Pond, if you would please come forward and speak to us.
Hello, my name is Daniel Pond. I am an educator. I began these 3-minute educational moments last September 2023. I envisioned a plumb line in the shape of a school pencil. The crosshairs are to alert, encourage, and remind this audience about why we have an America, a Constitution, an American educational system, and the biblical basis on which they are founded. I call this piece Edunation, E-D-U-N-A-T-I-O-N, Edunation. I have attempted to use my voice in a public forum that I have not before. It has been good to be re-educated about what I believe and why I say and do the things that I do, and in good faith, I have shared my heart with no redactions. Edwards Deming, an internationally renowned consultant into new principles of management, affected manufacturing and education in the late 1950s to early 1980s. He's quoted that American industry is rife with pride, greed, deception, and the practice of, quote, scraping the black off the toast rather than fixing the toaster. I believe our governors, educators, parents, and students will be refreshed and renewed to shoulder the responsibilities of working together and educating our children to the benefit of us all. I believe that together we can fix the toaster and stop scraping off the black. I believe only God knows the future. He's the only one who knows the end from the beginning, and He needs us to participate with Him in that future, especially in education. Jesus gave us biblical precedents to know what it means to truly, quote, love one another as I have loved you, end quote. My expectation has always been to educate and to inspire the next generations as my educators have taught me to do. I trust that I have honored them in my efforts and have not failed that cloud of witnesses. I trust that I have not failed that cloud of witnesses. And I also trust that I haven't failed you. And I trust that you as you reflect on these recordings and follow the threads of faith, hope, love, and patriotism that I've presented, I also trust that these tried and true principles of American education will be translated to our students because they are our future. Thank you and be blessed.
Thank you, Mr. Pond. That's it? Okay. Next, we have superintendent's comments. Mrs. Lips?
Thank you. Just reminder to everyone that on Independence Day, July 4th, all district offices here in the MSD of Martinsville will be closed. And July 5th through the 12th, Martinsville School District will be represented at the Morgan County Fair. We have a booth in the Merchants Tent. District representatives will be there sharing a good word about our programming and enrollment, that kind of thing. Parent Square also This is a reminder to families that Skyward now partners with Parent Square. So more information will be shared with staff and families via our communication on June 21st and July 1st. You'll be receiving an email or an alert about Parent Square. And the last thing that we have from the district to share this evening is an invitation to everyone, another free invitation. Theater camp has been this week at Martinsville High School for students in grades 3 through 8. And tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. at Martinsville High School, the public is invited to attend a free performance of James and the Giant Peach. That's all from the district. Mr. Hankins?
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lips. Board member comments.
Just want to remind everyone to have a safe holiday. I know we won't be meeting before then, and hopefully you get to spend some time with family and friends.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, with us rescheduling our next meeting to July 25th, that only leaves about 7 days before August 1st. My thought is, if we could, would it be plausible to hold maybe a special meeting on those two contracts once we receive all the information to review, just to give give them a hard answer before, just a week before?
No, we
it would
absolutely
start, yeah.
need to do that, Luke, because, yeah, it's very hard to employ those types of employees. So if we're saving money and we can hire them, I would say yes, let's get the figures and get that on the books.
That's a great suggestion, Mr. Jackson, and we will expedite that so that arrangements can be made to get those staff members or someone else in those slots so that we can start school and be fully staffed.
Thank you. Thank you.
One thing that we did this month, and I don't know if you looked at the notes, just having Whitney go through this makes this a lot more easy to read. I appreciate the listening and trying to just get the vendors together so you can see it in alphabetical order, get the math of each one of the vendors. I don't know, when I looked through it, it was about half the time to go through the data. It was a lot easier to go through, so I appreciate that. And everyone have a good 4th of July and enjoy the summer and be safe. So that's all I've got.
Appreciate that. Again, tomorrow night, if you can go to see the students, I think that's great that we have those kind of camps going on during the summer. And I know there's sports camps also going on. And that kids have also participated in the fair, the Queen pageant. And so I think that's great. A lot of Martinsville High
Yeah.
School students. So,
Congratulations, Dan's daughter is the
yes.
Morgan County Princess. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So that is a-
Congratulations, Fallon, if
Yeah.
you're watching this, and I know you are.
So,
Congrats.
so we are appreciative of all the kids and how they participate in different things in the community. So if there is nothing else further, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Matt.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.